Welcome back to the Troubleshooting Life podcast. I'm your host, Jay Peters, my co-host, Craig Poston, where we talk about various topics, sharing our experiences on life and finances.
What's up, man?
What's going on?
Hey, not much, man. I would say another week, but it is another week.
Yeah.
We just skipped a week. Yeah.
Then we skipped like two. I think we skipped two.
Oh, we skipped two.
Yeah.
See, look.
Too many things happen.
A lot. Yeah, our lives get really busy, but that's just life, right?
Sometimes I've been
always trouble.
Sometimes I've been looking at it and I'm like, dude, what day is it? I'm like, how's it already Thursday?
Yeah, no, exactly. That's why, we were just talking earlier about me organizing and cleaning up. And that's one of the reasons is try to get focused, like understand, like this is what I'm working on right now. I need to get directly on that instead of having all these things up in my brain. I was like, oh, I need to do the garage. I need to clean my office. I need to work on my CEUs. I need to, all these things are popping up in my brain. And I was like, you know what? Let's just start tackling them, get organized so I can focus. Single focus is always, it works better, I mean,
I think there's like pros and cons to both. So like, of course, definitely have a single focus and getting stuff done type of mindset, but then being so busy that you kind of just like, you're doing stuff. You're not just busy just to be busy, and you're not just like lollygagging while you do it, but like you're so busy with life that, you kind of forget like how time's kind of moving forward. Yeah. Cause like, so I know when I was younger, that was like a good thing to do because like it'll distract you from like, say if you have like personal problems, right? And like say like to me, if you have personal problems, then you're not busy enough. Or if you got like real, like I'm not saying like real like emotional problems, but if like there's like just things that are bothering you, then just make yourself busy. Like there's no point in like wallowing in like the sadness or whatever it is in those emotions if you have stuff going on in life, because you still have stuff to do.
Yeah, no, I do agree with that. And besides, if it, like you said, if it's something truly emotional wrong with you, you're just covering it up with busyness. And then that's something that at one point will unpack itself. Yeah. So then, you gotta work on it. I guess that's where that single focus is. Find out if that's a real problem. But if you're talking about like people showing up in your life, causing drama, craziness, those type of problems, then I can understand being busy definitely puts that, at bay, because you're like, well, I don't have time right now. We don't, You want to argue? Maybe let's argue next month because I got way too much going on.
When I feel like arguing, I'll argue with you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, how's your properties doing?
They're doing pretty good. Got like one more person moving in May next month. Yeah, so I got a handful of like leases finishing up and at the end of July. So I have a few people kind of not necessarily lined up, but either looking to re-up on their lease, or I have someone that's looking to lease after someone else is done. So just taking it a day at a time, trying to learn more stuff, try to get more capital for the next property or whatever next thing I'm trying to do. So it's just been a just consistent journey on stuff.
Exactly. Yeah, because that's one of the things. It's not always a fast process. It's kind of more of a slow process.
And I realized that more recently because. So between my first property and my second property was about 2-3 years, I believe. And I didn't realize like I had saved up that much capital to purchase like another property with a conventional loan and stuff. And that it took those like couple years to do it. And now I'm like, I think I got into this high of like buying properties where I was like, just go buy another one. All right, just go buy another one. And then you realize, well, like, wait, I don't have the money to go buy another one right now. Like, at least comfortably, like to where like I could buy another property and then deal with the current properties and shit like that.
Because you don't want to run too thin.
And I'm like, slowly roll, bro. Like, come on. So I think I got that high, and I was like, I have to come back down from it. I'm like a property junkie.
Yeah. No, I'm ready to get on your level to add some more in. I mean, the one that I have is now getting rented out. Took a little bit. Also had a little squirrel event. It's pretty funny because he burrowed through the walls, which, the property manager I had, they didn't slow them down. They got it fixed and kept advertising and got people, people viewing the home, which was nice. And then finally got an update saying, oh yeah, we got somebody that's they're dropping a deposit today, and, and that they're going to be in there on the 1st. Like, cool, this is awesome. Because that means now I can start looking for the next one. Because that was the only thing, that was my holdup. I might have been viewing homes, but I wasn't going to jump on anything until I heard the words, okay, we got somebody that's moving in. So So yeah, that's the next thing for me is now I gotta decide the location. If it's here in Texas or if it's gonna be in Mississippi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because because I will say, as part of someone that doesn't use a property manager, I will say like the initial like stressors are when, of course, like say if you're fixing up the property or whatnot,
Yeah.
and when you're like showing places that it's not necessarily a stressor, it's actually like more of a stress reliever, but the amount of people you have to like kind of go through and pick through like applications just to make sure they're not like a bad tenant and stuff like, and then, you know, when they initially move in, you know, when they find certain things that could be wrong that you may not have been paying attention to, like when I had one of them moved in to the other property or to the other duplex, there's like a problem with the AC. And
Yeah.
I guess I didn't realize it when I was there, like when I was doing like the repairs and stuff or renovations. But yeah, and I was like, oh shoot. So I called like, you know, the AC people right away. They got out there like the next morning. And they, you know, identified the problem. I had to go get the part. And yeah, they got it fixed within a week, I think. So
Yeah.
but it was just like one of those things. And then on the other side of that property, there was like a problem with like the not plumbing, with the shower head. I don't know how well versed you are into like showers and stuff, but in a shower where the nozzle is, there's a thing called a mixing valve. The mixing valve is what allows it to go between hot and cold water properly. As in like, if you've ever been like older showers, like sometimes it'll get really cold or really hot. Like there's not a great in between. So that was happening there. And I was like, okay, this sounds like it's just the mixing valve. So I went out there and I fixed it. But yeah, I mean, those are like the main things here. The other ones, like, nothing much. I mean, nothing much initial like problems happen. Like, you know, of course that pipe leak at the other place, that kind of blew. But, you know, I was able to get that taken care of. I think that's about it. Oh, the most recent stressor was at the unit right next to us, the mail keys that you're supposed to get from like USPS.
Yeah.
They'd come in and I was like going there like once a week for like a month.
Yeah.
And I had ordered them back in like February and I kept going back and they just, they never got them until like this past week. And I was like, holy crap. Like that was a long time to not have a mail key. But what's crazy is that there wasn't much mail in there. I was like, okay, that's weird. Cause I know there's definitely stuff being sent there.
Yeah. No, that's pretty cool. All right, well, no, not that the key thing, but pretty cool that your adventure, that all the things that you're finding. Yeah,
those are just like tip of the iceberg, man.
Yeah, no, I mean, but that's life, and that's the adventure of like being an investor. Like nothing's gonna be perfect.
Yeah.
You just gotta be able to adjust to it.
I think that the biggest lesson is to learn is that when some people will say like real estate investing is passive, it's really not. Like not in the initial portions. It's not passive. You have to be very active with it in the beginning and the beginning stages until you can get like a good rhythm. Especially if you don't have a property manager, that's definitely not passive. But yeah, no, I will say like now, like those properties are fairly passive. Like I'll check in on them every once in a while, or maybe they'll shoot me a text every so often about something. But right now I'm just like collecting checks at this point.
Yeah, I mean, with a property manager, it's not completely passive. I mean, you can make it that way, but it's suggested that you still make contact with your property manager. Yeah, ask them questions, ask them how things are going. Also, like I asked the question, what's the best area to buy in next? You know, so I'll have an idea where to start looking. You know, and I got the response back. It was several different zip codes in the area to go look at, and I would later on get with my real estate agent and figure out, all right, you know, to adjust the MLS, because she sends me links like every day pretty much, because I'm added to her thing, listings. I see all of them pop up. Yeah. And it's actually pretty cool that, you know, she hadn't turned that off on me yet. So, but I did tell her I was going to buy another one. So, yeah.
I do like that the real estate agents will kind of keep up some of your listings, your MLS searches. So, you know, you can be more cognizant of, like, you know, what's going on. Even if you're like not in the market, you can still kind of see like how the market is going, as in like see a listing that they send you. You can kind of analyze what area it's in, especially if you have a property in that area. Yeah. And like say if you're not in the market, but other people in the market, and you'll see like how quickly it's sold or how quick or how long it's been on the market for whatever reason. And you're like, oh, well, I wonder why that is the way it is. Like, why did it go by so quickly? Is it like just like in your area with like no problems. Or if it's been on there for a while, like maybe they had, foundation problems, maybe they had like AC problems that they still need to take care of. So, a lot less buyers are going for it. Or you learn like the cyclical portions of real estate, as in like, during this time frame, like say winter time frame, people aren't selling as much, right? Or people aren't, or buying as much, I should say. And then like, as it hits the warmer seasons, like summer time frame, people are buying up like crazy, right? Especially if you live in like a military town, like here in San Antonio, PCSing, during the summer time frame is fairly common, right? So like how many people are selling their houses and buying their houses military wise. So it's just good things to like note or have mental notes about.
Yeah, exactly. All right, man. So this week our topic is trust but verify. Yeah, which all of us should have some trust but verify information that people give us. Because you never know if they're talking out of the ass, or if or actually they're legitimate, telling us good information, but they missed a piece, right? They might have missed something that was said that actually might have been vital to what we needed. But going back behind them, not necessarily that we didn't trust them, is that maybe we need to understand it a little bit better. Right? Is that kind of like what you were getting?
Yeah. And I think a good example, like, kind of going based off what you said, where someone says something but they miss a piece, right? And now I'm not religious or anything, but like a portion of a verse in the Bible is money is the root of all evil, right? But a lot of people quote that. It's actually misquoted a lot. And the actual quote, or more to the quote, is that the love of money is the root of all evil. That is, it's not money itself is what is evil. It's how much you enjoy having the money, or how attached you are to the money is what can be evil. And I think that was a great example of like the trust but verify type of thing.
Yeah, no, that's that's a good way to start it out too, because the love of money, I guess that would be the root of all evil. Because think about it, if you neglect your family, neglect your friends, neglect other things in your life, your marriage, that because all the love that you have for money, and not the fact that what the money can do for you.
Yeah, they might agree to that for it.
Yeah. So that's a great point, man. A good way to start it out. Yeah. And I guess for how you look at trust but verify, some of the things like back in the day, right? They didn't have internet, because I think we were talking about this earlier. If my dad gave me a piece of information, you kind of almost have to just go with it, right? I can't like truly verify like, okay, what he said is true, or does he have it confused with something that happened in his life, right? Yeah. So so it's like, he was giving out valid information, but it may not work for me because the way the information was received, right? Or if it was like I said, missing a piece or something of the sort.
Or, and some people, when they give advice, they give their own like anecdotal experience to it. As in, say for someone that doesn't want to, or say you tell someone, especially like your parents, like, hey, I'm going to go invest in real estate. And they're like, oh, well, what happened in 08? A lot of people lost their properties. What happened to Dave Ramsey? Like, he overborrowed and he messed up himself, right? And stuff like that. Yeah. And I think that's part of it, where like, that's true, right? Like all those anecdotal evidence is true. Like people did lose their houses in 08. Like Dave Ramsey, was great in real estate, and then he kind of went a little overboard with borrowing. But if you look at, regular statistics, like the actual evidence about it, there's people that also made a lot of money in 08.
Yeah.
And people that took, Dave Ramsey's advice or looked at what went wrong with they now incorporated it into their strategy on like what not to do, right? Like don't over borrow, maybe just go for properties that you can get with like a conventional loan, or you can have initial equity in, right? Stuff like that. So I think there's good and bad with people that give that evidence, and like we said earlier, it seems to be a lot of older, or like the older generation, where they kind of just give their advice, right? And then, but there's no one there to really like, I guess, go back behind them and validate it, at least not before the internet.
Yeah, because I mean, anyone can make mistakes. It's not that someone is a liar. You do have some liars. Like it's not that the person that you're talking to is a liar. It just the information might just been miscommunicated. And that's and that's why if I give advice, I always go like, well, you can always check. You can go back behind me. I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Because all you're going to do is make me more accurate. Because if you come back and tell me, oh, yeah, what you said was right, but you missed this part right here. Hey, I'm good with that. Yeah. You just help me out.
Yeah. And I think that part of it is that, you may trust the person like through and through, but I think verifying it helps both people or both parties. As in, I trust you, wholeheartedly, but is there something that we could have improved on? Or is there something better that could have been done? All right, don't just say that. Because I think if you just say, I trust you, that there's no real feedback about it. There's no way to say that, hey, this is great, but here's like a something to grow from, right? Hey, like you should have changed the configuration this way, or should have updated it in a certain format, whatever it is.
Yeah. So I guess our point here, I don't know if you want to read it, like where it came from, the whole idea of trust but verify.
Yeah. So I'll kind of talk about where I got it from. I got it from the military. Like very early on, that was like something that some of the chiefs taught was trust but verify, as in trust what we say, trust what your command says, but verify their opinion with actual facts. And so for example, like if there's certain rules and regulations on uniform, right? And some people may tell you different things, but if you look at the actual admin, or we call it like the NAB admin, or the regs for, let's say, uniform, as a very basic example, now there's certain things you can wear in uniform. Like say if it's accessories, you can wear a certain amount of rings, earrings, whatever it is. Or for females, like some people will even be as strict as like the color of socks you can wear, right? Now, someone could tell you those things, but you should also check the regulation for yourself so that you're actually following it by the book, and then you could then inform other people like this is what it is by the book, and this is what I'm referencing.
Yeah. No, that's no. So it's the same thing for Army too. That same idea. They same saying, trust but verify. Because one, it makes a person more of a fisher instead of a person that just always receives. Like hey, I was too lazy to go get the information. But if you go like, you teach them how, hey, this is where I'm grabbing this information from. You can go read it at any point in time, because you may interpret it in a different way than I do. And it's the same thing. I guess it makes I won't say it makes a better leader, right? So if the leader is like upfront, honest, hey, this is how, I know this information. I did this right here, and this is where I got it from. Or they say, hey, I think, or it makes the leader fish for information also, because they go like, okay, well, I'm lacking at this point on the information. I'm gonna go research this for you. I'm gonna come back with this information, and I'm gonna tell you where I got it from.
Yeah.
And so you just made both parties, as you say, better in this situation.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with that. And like kind of going with the point. So the trust but verify is a concept that involves placing trust in others while also verifying their actions to ensure that they are meeting their commitments and expectations. The phrase is often associated with Ronald Reagan, who used it to describe his approach to negotiating with the Soviet Union during the Cold War.
Yeah. So that was new to me because I didn't know that information. But also that's one of the things when I was looking up an article for myself, I did notice that, talking about that information.
Ronald Reagan himself was it was like a Russian proverb or something that he kind of coined during the Cold War.
Yeah. So I guess the next point is at its core, trust but verify is about balancing trust with accountability. It acknowledges that trust is essential in any relationship or partnership, but also recognize that trust can be fragile and needs to be reinforced through ongoing verification and communication. And in practice, trust but verify. Oh, my bad. you also put no. That was my fault. But continue to read on.
Yeah.
But so you got there's a little sub points in this also.
Yeah. So the ones we'll kind of cover, I'll kind of just run through them real quick. So trust but verify means, establishing clear expectations, providing autonomy, monitoring progress, providing feedback, and adjusting expectations. It was kind of what we were kind of talking about just a second ago, where that feedback loop is really integral just for work in general, because I think it builds a better product or service of what you're doing. Because I feel like if you're not receiving feedback, then you're kind of just going to do what you want to do or continue to do what you're doing. And it may not be the proper way, and it may not be the best way to do it.
Yeah. And so with the article I picked, right, it's an older article. Just had me, go through Google, and I was like, oh, this caught my attention, right? So this is from the Harvard Business Review. The article was actually called Trust But Verify, and it's by the author Gardner Morse. Sorry if I messed up the name. But yeah, as they wrote this article, they were talking about a professor from Washington University in St. Louis. And this professor, he surveyed like 71 self-managed teams of MBA students to measure their levels of trust, self-monitoring, and autonomy within them. And then as he expected from this, that some of the work fell off. Like, it's a good thing to have trust amongst team members. But they found that, as they trusted each other so much that they didn't verify the work that anyone was doing, they tended not to monitor one another, right? As a result, a relatively low awareness of each other's activities, which affected performance, and probably by hampering processes and coordination. As all the teams we have, right? Having that kind of level of like checks and balances, which in IT, you definitely need that, right? Because you don't want to give out bad code. If someone puts out something just like, hey, it did this, it works like you said, but it did this little thing right here. What does that mean? Or is that a way we can solve this problem? And with all that, it also creates a better product, right? If you're giving something to someone and this is the product they asked for, you gave them what they asked for, but now you're giving them a better product by having someone go back behind you, check what's going on, which we notice that a lot. Well, what we do in IT by running through multiple systems, multiple times, we have all these different checks to let the next group know, hey, this is what I found. This does this. Maybe we should change it. All those good things.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that because so from the tech lead perspective and what I've been doing on dev is that I incorporate what's known as a QA process or a quality assurance process. And the reason why, and it goes back to like some of the historical stuff of work, but a few years ago, we would get releases or patches for the system, and either the instructions would be bad or things wouldn't be spelt out clearly. Like there would have to be like a lot of logical leaps you would have to take when you're going through these patches. And what I wanted to minimize was those logical leaps and those like expectations of knowledge that people had or didn't have, I should say. And so what I would do is that I would go back to the development teams. I was like, hey, this release or patch, it wasn't bad necessarily, like it was successful, but we had to infer a lot of this knowledge to get it to work. So and here's like my feedback, like this is like, well, during these steps, you could have done this, or you could have added a little bit more detail here. So at least for our teams, I started that program to where we have a developer, they finish everything, they do their code, their documentation, whatever it is. We have testers that test their code or the expectation of the code. And then we have like a security team that does all that. But then I added like that additional process where an engineer comes behind them and integrates it into the system before releasing it to the customer. Because like I said, they'll go through the checklist to where, do these steps make sense? Do I really have to guess what to do next or what this actually means? Do they spell it out properly? And, of course, does the product work as designed? But even certain things like, timing, right? Timing could be very integral, as in when you're an integrator on a live system, you don't necessarily have all the time in the world. So if you're going by what the documentation says and you're asking for X amount of time on the system and it for some reason goes over, you now have to explain yourself on why it went over. Like, was it you? Was it the release? If it was the release, why did the developers identify that? Yeah. So there's a lot of things that I try to account for with the quality assurance portion of releases or of patches. And that's like, that was my like type of trust but verify. Like, I trust these developers like wholeheartedly. I know they are very smart people. I know they know the system. Yep. I know they know their code, but I don't think they have the correct mindset of when they're writing these checklists or when they're providing these checklists from an engineer's perspective, because for anyone that has worked with like developers and engineers, is that they have two different mindsets, where one is very like process oriented to the point where I need everything to be spelled out. And the other one is like, well, this is how I got it to work, and I may not have to explain everything to you because I already got it to work. So
Yeah.
but like we keep like harping on that feedback loop is what really helps build a better product and better service for our customers.
Yep. Yeah. So that's the main takeaway is that feedback loop. Because again, we trust because we know everyone is smart. You don't get to your position or to that point because you're not intelligent, right? It's the fact that you have to understand that someone will have to come back and check your work to make sure that, hey, this works exactly as how you said it, and it's supposed to do exactly what you said it's going to do. Which, you know what I'm saying? Obviously, with our, field, we know if you're working on multiple systems and they're not exactly the same, and even if they were exactly the same, you could possibly, something could be different in there, which causes an issue. So we have to always go back and say, hey, no, this would happen because of this or whatever, right? You have to do a little research, but
Yeah. And then kind of going through those points I was talking through. So establishing clear communications or clear expectations, my apologies. It states to clearly communicate your expectations to others and make sure they understand what is expected of them. I think that's very powerful and very good lesson to learn, because I think a lot of people make bold assumptions or to be complete, because like you said, we do work with like a lot of smart people. So maybe we say if you're a lead, you kind of assume that they know what the customer wants, right? So say if the customer wants, like a pretty button or something that functions in a different way, and we kind of just take their word of mouth from it without properly identifying, what is it what they want? What is the acceptance criteria for this feature that they want? Is it really the button? Like, is that what they want? Or is it something else? Like, is it some sort of feedback that they need from the button? Or is there some sort of indicator, or is there information that they need from the system that this quote unquote button would help them fix? And I think if you were to dive more into it and get that proper communication through, it would, of course, set up the user's expectation, like, hey, this is what I actually want from the system. It then gets communicated to the people that make the decisions, right, to the management office or to the leadership. And then that would then come down to the developer in a proper funnel of information to where everyone is on the same page, like no one is in disagreement. And maybe you have to go back and forth a little bit to pull the actual information, but in the end, it's all concise. Everyone understands what's going on, and they realize like what is the end goal for this feature.
Yeah, and the next one, providing autonomy allows others freedom to carry out responsibilities in their own way without micromanaging, which that's a good thing. That helps people grow, right?
Yeah.
Having a little bit of freedom like we will go with the releases, right? So with us carrying out our job to actually go and make sure it installs properly, but in the process, you get to learn more information about it because you may have to research a piece of it because you might want to know how it actually works. But like having someone not stand over you and say, no, do it exactly like this in this way, and we're hoping it does exactly the same thing. So like having a little bit of freedom to kind of explore a little bit, actually, to me, adds to your toolkit. I've learned a new command. I've learned a new type of operating system. I've learned a new scripting language, something, right?
Yeah.
And that's how I see it with, not micromanaging people over there, making sure that they do exactly what is told of them.
Yeah.
So.
I think like kind of going back to, say if we're talking about the releases or patches, that you have enough trust in the developer and whoever provided to you those checklists to where it should work. Like anywhere I do this or any system that I have this on, it should work the same. As in like they did all the due diligence, they, make sure those commands work, whatever it is, to where I don't have to ad hoc anything right now to get it to work. Hopefully.
Yeah. 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 It's always hopefully because IT is strange.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. And then I think, autonomy specifically, I think that's one of the good and bads about the military, as in there's not a lot of autonomy in the military, especially at like the lower levels of like enlisted and stuff, because the military is specifically supposed to be like this well-oiled machine to where you can plug and play anyone, and they should just be able to fall in line and do whatever the job is to make the overall system work, right? Or the system of the military work, which is good because then, like I said, there's a lot of cohesion, there's a lot of uniformity in operations for the military, but I think it does stunt growth.
Yes.
For people.
Yes.
Because they're too, not necessarily too by the book. There's nothing wrong with being too by the book. There is something wrong with being by the book and only being by the book. As in, you want to be by the book as much as you want, or as much as you can, but you also want to, and we keep saying this, feedback. Feedback is like one of the biggest things, to where there is something that could be done better. Like, times have changed, things have updated. You need to update those systems and processes that you have in place to make sure, one, you're not falling behind the rest of the world, right? So say if you're running the military like we were in the 1800s, then there's something wrong, right? As in, there's so much more information out there. There's so many more improvements that have been since then that you could incorporate now, and it may break a few of those processes, but I think it would improve more than it would break.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with you on that. I remember after coming off active duty, I think one of my issues, because I was so used to following instructions, having that freedom to think outside the box, I had to grow that back. Because sometimes say if you start a new job, right, sometimes you expect everything to be exactly, hey, I want you to do this, I want you to do that, I want you to do this next, but then in reality, it's not like that outside of the military. They give you a link and they tell you where to go research, and then you can go somewhat figure it out on your own. Besides the initial parts of like starting with the company, right? Yeah. You gotta, that's the policy, whatever their policies are, you have to follow those. So that part is given to you. But then like when it comes to your job, being a free thinker, learning how to like come up with new ideas to accomplish whatever task is given to you. Yeah. So that was something I had to relearn back when I came off active duty.
Yeah. And then go into the next point is monitoring progress. So really check in with others to assess their progress and ensure that they are on track to meet their commitments. I definitely like doing this. For me personally, I do like a lot of one-on-ones for a few teams. Of course, for my team, for 2 others, I try to check in with some of their members and making sure that their needs are taken care of, and to see if they have any inquiries about growth, whether that's in that specific position, in the company, in IT in general. Like what do they feel they are not as knowledgeable on, and what could grow them, especially like a lot of the ones I do are for engineers. So I give them not necessarily all the same feedback, but if they wanted to grow in a certain way, like say if they wanted to become like a infrastructure automation type thing, I would point them to like some Ansible courses that we would do. If there's something that they're not doing well, like say some of them aren't as readily available as we would need them to, or they're not responding within a proper amount of time to like tasks that they've been assigned, or to people that need help from them because it was something that they were doing and they broke something for whatever reason. I think that's the typical feedback I would give them, and helping them monitor their progress so that we have performance evaluations, at least for the company, and I would just post them up on that just so that they can look at it to see, from a 6-month period, from a 3-month, or from a year type of period, this is what I was struggling with, and this is what I've been improving on, and it shows within these short little feedbacks that I've been getting.
Yeah, definitely. Check-in does make you better, and then like you said, it sends puts you in where you would like to go. All right, like you said, you had someone that wanted to get into something different. You actually being put in the right position actually makes you successful at being with the company, or makes you successful at doing your job properly, right? Yeah, because that's the one thing, you never want to be in something you don't want to do. I mean, you can, get through it.
Not for too long.
Do what you have to do. Yeah, exactly. Because you run into burnout.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of like working outside of your zone for too long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which isn't bad. I mean, like you can work outside of your zone. But like I said, or like we said, how long can you do that? Right.
Yeah.
And you know, sometimes there's benefits too. So, for example, if there's a job that you may not like, but it provides a decent amount of income for you,
Yeah.
then what I would do is like, you know, yeah, definitely, you know, focus on your job, but make sure you're also making personal moves to get into a job that you actually do enjoy, but could also provide around the same amount of income or maybe more income for you.
Yeah. Exactly. And then your next one, providing feedback. Provide honest feedback on performance, both positive and negative, to help reinforce good behavior and correct mistakes. Which, yes, also kind of falls in line with the monitoring progress, right? Because if you're giving feedback about what you've done, the good things you've done and the bad things you've done, it creates a better person or better employee or whatever you're trying to get into. It makes you better.
Yeah, I will say I'm one of those people. I might just be a douche, but I'll point out like a lot of negative stuff first and like feedback, and sometimes I'll forget to point out the positive things. And the reason why is one of the things I kind of live by is that I don't clap for fish that swim, because you know that's what they're supposed to do. So why would I now celebrate the things that they're supposed to do? And I've seen like not a lot of shows, but a handful of shows or maybe movies that kind of harp on it, where see if there's someone that, you know, holds the door open for, you know, one person or like a handful of people. Like, should you really be giving them a gold star? Like, is that really like a big feat to where now they're celebrated for doing that?
Yeah,
I personally don't think so, but
no, I think it's the personality. I think as you get to know whoever it is that you counsel or your employee that you do reviews with or whatever, I think it's learning the personality. And you realize that some people do need a hand clap to keep going, and you know, some people don't, right? Some people like, no, don't celebrate until you know I've done something good, you know, because I get like that sometimes. I'm like, I'm glad you appreciate me, but what have I really done,
yeah.
right? I'm like that. I want to see that I made a real impact in someone's life or in my job before I get my hand clapped.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that, because then I think it's because we have very similar personalities, as in we're very high supportive people. So yeah, it's great. Yeah, I mean, it's great that we did all those things, but that's, you know, part of our job, right? Like we did those things, not necessarily like out of it. Like we were going to do those things anyways. Like, it's not like you had to celebrate me for me to continue to do those things.
Yeah, exactly.
But, you know, I do agree that there are people that they kind of need that additional encouragement, or they need that validation that, hey, yes, you are doing something correct. And here's the actual example of you doing something proper. And I think that kind of can like fizzle out at some point, as in, you know, how much stuff can you really congratulate them on, until it's like, oh, thanks for waking up this morning, or thanks for showing up to work. And that's just like my stance on it, as it, you really didn't do anything above what you were required to do. So why am I now trying to celebrate you for it?
Yeah, again, I think it's the personality. You gotta, I guess once we get to a point where we own a company that has, you know, hundreds of people or thousands of people, and then you know, we would have to look more into something like that, where, you know, some people need their hand clap every day and some people don't, you know. Some people like awards, some people don't. Some people prefer extra cash, you know. Some people like, no, give me more time, education, or time off, or, you know, they're like, give me something else, you know. So it's just over time, you know, something that you would learn if you have employees under you.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with that. And the last one for this is adjusting expectations. Be willing to adjust your expectations and course correct if needed, based on the results of verification and feedback. And I think that's true. Like you said, you know, as you learn the people's personalities, and as you're providing these feedbacks to these people, you'll see that not everyone grows in like a linear fashion. I don't think anyone grows in linear fashion, but as in not everyone grows in the same type of course, to where, like, say, you could give the same feedback to 3 people, and maybe one person will excel at that feedback, right? But you could give, a different feedback to them, and it would adjust to like how the person is. So say if I told someone to go, hey, go, watch this video on Ansible, and this will make you a little bit better. All of them could watch the video, but they may not process it the same way. So only one would probably really incorporate what they learned. Where if, say if you sat down with the other two people and you kind of show them, here's how it's working, here's like how I found it. This is, if you see this again, do this, and you'll kind of, make the logical jumps, or you'll see the process and you'll kind of learn from that. And I think that can be said for a lot of things, not just necessarily like your professional life, but like say even if you're, a parent, right? You can't necessarily parent both kids the same, or however many kids you have the same, because, age differences, their knowledge gap may be different. But yeah, what's your kind of take on that?
No, I agree with you. It's pretty much figuring out what personality you're dealing with, and then so say if they're not super motivated, right? Then, you got to dial back some of the goals that you have for them. Right. So you're like, all right, maybe we should give them one goal per session, but so they'll make sure they hit it, versus like giving them several goals. And then you realize that they it's overwhelming to them. Yeah. It's like some people are super motivated. Some are, they're ready to go. Like, hey, no, give me more, because I want to learn more. So I learn more about my job if you give me more goals. Like, I want to get to your level, not stay at the same level I'm at, Yes. Definitely adjusting this expectation, because as when I was in the military, when you counsel somebody, you definitely got your different levels. Someone cares about their education, you got another one that just cares about like surviving day to day, right? So you just have to like give them what helps them best for whatever goal they do have. Yeah, and that's another thing too, trying to pull goals out of people to figure out what do you want to do.
Yeah, no, I agree. And then to kind of finish this up. So overall, trust but verify is a balance between trust and accountability. It allows individuals and organizations to build strong relationships based on mutual trust, while also ensuring that the commitments are met and expectations are understood and respected. So then, and I'm glad I pulled this, because it's definitely helping me, identify some stuff. We're kind of going through it, and I definitely enjoyed this kind of concept, the trust but verify concept.
Yeah, no, it's again, it makes a stronger team, which the closing statement did. It says that the thing is like some people feelings to get hurt, yeah. But the thing is, we're all adults, and if there are kids out there listening, this is what you're gonna aspire to be, a knowledgeable, respectful adult, right? That learns how to deal with different personalities and learns how to grow with teams and to help excel, or help them excel as you excel in life. Right.
Yeah.
All right, man. I guess we're getting down to our frugal achieve. All right. So this one I was thinking about, because I know I've talked about my lawnmower before, where I've like worked on it or whatever, but I went on and it got a little risky. I hired somebody to do my lawn care. And now I'm trying to decide what I'm going to do with the lawnmower for right now. The ideal I had was to repurpose it as a go-kart to have fun with my kids. So the statement I have here is repurpose, reuse, then throw away. And in some cases, you might not have to throw away. You might be able to sell it if you repurpose it just right. But that's how I came up with this idea. What do you think on that one?
I think for the lawnmower, it's pretty good. But I think, if you use it with like underwear, I don't know.
Well, you could reuse underwear. It's odd, right? You could just go ahead and cut them up and use them as cleaning rags. Yeah.
Well, no, because I think the good part is that you caved and got someone to do your lawn. Which I think is there's a lot of thought that kind of has to go into it, especially for like you and I, where especially if you're like more on the frugal side, as in, man, like is it really worth getting like a lawn mowing service to just so I have like, let's say like 50 minutes of like extra time to do? And I think you can do like whatever justification you want for your side, but I think overall it does help, because one, you're probably hiring someone that's probably better than you at mowing the lawn or taking care of the lawn, right? So they probably have a better understanding of, well, this type of grass grows well, and these are weeds. This is how I take care of that, stuff like that. And then of course the time commitment that it takes you to at least just mow the lawn, right? Let's say you're like not edging or anything. It takes you 35, 45 minutes to mow the lawn. And you may not be as detail oriented as someone that you may have hired to do the job.
Yeah, no, they went through quick. I didn't even know they were at the house. I think they moved so quick, my ring didn't even catch.
No.
Yeah. So like they edged everything, made everything look clean, cut the front and backyard. I mean, knocked it all out. I mean, and then also I have really bad allergies here.
Yeah.
So that actually saved me that. And also I was able to take the time I would normally take to cut the grass to start working on something else I needed to do for a while, which was like clean the garage and organize my tools, so.
Next you're going to hire.
Yeah. What was that?
Next you're going to hire someone to do that?
Yeah. Yeah. That's why I need someone to organize my tools. All right. I keep messing them up, But then I guess then at that point, I'll just get to a point where I just take my cars to dealerships all the time.
So that's what I was thinking. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. It's like get rid of my tools. No, man, I enjoy working on cars. That's pretty fun. So that's why I do all my little low maintenance stuff. Sometimes I do some heavy maintenance, but like mostly low maintenance, like oil change,
brake pads,
which that could be medium to somebody because you still got to take the wheels off and everything.
Yeah.
And it was spark plugs, like those, some of the things are really easy because it sits on top of the engine.
Yeah. Not something you have to dig under or like remove a lot of stuff to get to it.
Yeah. So I only do those as like, that was the project. That was the plan from the beginning. But like, if it's I'll take my wife's car, right? It's newer or whatever. The plan is not to get under that thing and do a lot of work. It's to change the oil and have her on her way.
Sound like a dealership, man.
Yeah, I know, right?
Give me a car, I'll take it, and I get the hell out of my face.
Yeah, she's ready to go to the store. I'm trying to make sure she gets there. Yeah, so. All right, everyone. Thank you for listening. This is Craig and Jay signing off the Troubleshoot Light podcast. We'll see you next week. Please like and subscribe.
See y'all next week.